Man, I've been waiting to do this for some time. Since last year, actually. Wow, it's already 2016. It really feels like 2015 came and went. There weren't as many spectacular releases when compared to 2014, but even still, some sensational games came out in 2015, and I got to play some fantastic games. So today, I'm counting down my top 15 favorite games of 2015. And let me tell you, this list was not easy to order, so if you feel like a certain game should be higher, please understand. Same rules as last year, only games I played for the first time last year, only one per franchise, and no fan games. And with all that out of the way, it's time to reminisce. Let's roll! After my appetite for Metroid action was satisfied with Metroid Prime at the end of 2014, I immediately jumped into the other Prime games as 2015 rolled around. Prime 2 was definitely a good game that had its moments, but it was held back for me by some questionable design choices. On the other hand, we have the Metroid game that made the list, Metroid Prime 3. I can safely say that this game is an improvement over Prime 2, and it's my second favorite in the series. Prime 3 took a different approach compared to the other Prime games, being more linear in a style similar to Metroid Fusion, but I feel it works to its advantage. It never once felt like a drag to explore areas because I never had to fear getting lost and wasting time, meaning the pace of the game is much better than in other Metroid games. On top of that, I liked how the motion controls were incorporated into the gameplay. Sure, I played the other two Prime games with improved aiming, but I feel like the motion controls were really used to their fullest here. Using motion controls to solve puzzles or tear armor off enemies, which is wicked satisfying by the way, feels really natural and really helps with the immersion. The addition of Hyper Mode, which allows you to absolutely obliterate enemies with phase-on supercharged shots, was interesting and fun to absolutely obliterate everything in sight with it, but I feel it was occasionally broke the game and led to a few cheap deaths with corruption. Believe me, I've been there. In my honest opinion, this is a fantastic game to introduce people to what a Metroid game can be like, but at the same time, it can cater to series veterans as well. It has all the action to be expected from a Metroid game, but it's user-friendly enough that it won't scare off someone unfamiliar. I may prefer Prime 1 to all the others, but I still had a really fun time with this, and I can safely recommend it. Before I end this segment, I just want to say I also played Super Metroid in 2015. I wonder how many people I have now pissed off. If last year's list was any indication, indie games have really been on the rise these last few years, all to bring something new and unique for us gamers to enjoy. And for the first indie game on this list, let's look at Azure Striker Gunvolt. This game was recommended to me by a couple of my friends, and another friend gifted it to me during the Steam holiday sale. I didn't need to play it for long to know that this game is so much fun. Being developed by Inti Creates, I knew that this would feel a lot like a Mega Man game, and to an extent, I was right. However, this game does some great things to breathe new life into this formula. Going for massive combos using Gunvolt's pistols and electrically charged powers feels so amazing, and when you get those J-pop songs going, you know you're doing awesome. A lot of the level designs were really interesting, and I love how each level felt truly unique and had their own set pieces and themes, not to mention unique gimmicks that really help each stage stand out from the rest. And those boss fights can get pretty intense, let me tell you, but most of them are fun at the same time. You know, except for that one boss that's just really annoying and I just want to die really quick whenever I fight it because of its stupid stage. I'm getting off topic. While the story isn't winning any awards, I did really like the characters, Gunvolt especially. He defected from the organization he was working for that gave him a place to live when he had nothing, just to save a little girl. His devotion to keep Jules safe was truly remarkable, and I can't help but love it. Seriously, this game rocks, and I hope I helped spark your interest enough to get it yourself. Which Ratchet and Clank game should I put on the list? Going Commando or Up Your Arsenal? Going Commando or Up Your Arsenal? Well, I think the choice is pretty obvious. Ratchet and Clank, Up Your Arsenal. Out of the 3 Ratchet and Clank games in my PS3 collection, I could definitely say I find Up Your Arsenal the strongest of the 3. The weapons are as insane and awesome as always, and the upgrade system introduced in Going Commando was changed for the better. Weapons can now upgrade multiple times, and the mod system is now a part of the upgrade system, meaning you don't have to go platinum bolt hunting to get those awesome mods, and you can theoretically have several tools of mass destruction. And let me tell you, when maxed out, some of those weapons can get insanely broken. I'm looking at you, Liquid Nitrogen Gun. Not that it's a bad thing, mind you, because unlike Prime 3, just having those insane weapons isn't enough. the game still retains a solid challenge that I can never call cheap. Well, mostly. And that's not even talking about the best part of this game. It's amazing humor. Seriously, there are so many hilarious quips, jokes, and lines that'll make you chuckle or just burst out laugh at. But hey, that's something the series is well known for. I'm hoping I can try out more games in this series, but for now, this'll do. Now if you'll excuse me, I got some destruction to do. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I will continue to say it until the end of time. I love Pokemon, and if we were including fan games, Pokemon Insurgents would definitely be on here. But oh well, I at least got to try out Pokemon Colosseum this past year. I borrowed this game from a friend because I had never played it before, and I wanted to know if it held up to the standards I have for the Pokemon series. And well, it certainly did. Set in the Ori region, the game takes a drastically different approach to how the series is handled. Instead of being a rookie kid going around collecting gym badges to challenge the champion, you're a rebel, abandoning your team to save a bunch of Pokemon that have been more or less corrupted. I mean, heck, the game opens up with you blowing up Team Snagum's hideout. Personally, I don't mind the change in tone here, as I find it fresh and relieving after playing so much of this series. Traveling around Ori to save those shadow Pokemon and thwarting Cypher's plans every step of the way felt great. The Pokemon selection may have been pretty limited, but I still really like the team I put together. Since every battle in this game is a double battle, you really have to be good at strategies and planning to succeed, and I love that since I'm a bit of a competitive battler myself, and I'm a fan of double battles. But the question arises, do I like this more than XD? No. Honestly, I find XD the better game. I felt the Shadow Pokemon are handled better, especially with the larger variety of Shadow moves and their effectiveness. I like the Pokemon options in XD more, and even though Greevil was brutal, he at least wasn't Evis. What am I saying? I beat Evis on my first try without much difficulty when my Pokemon were 6 to 8 levels lower. Get on my level, scrub! But still, if you can find a way to play this and you're a seasoned Pokemon trainer looking for something new, then go for it. I love Okami, and if you've been watching my blind Let's Play, you know I love Okami. I knew that this game was special before I decided to get it myself, but after playing through it, I can definitely say this is one of the most beautiful games I have ever played. The art style really drew me in, art puns, with its unique style and authentic Japanese feel. Every area felt truly unique and stand out. From the luscious Shinshu field, to the soothing Ryoshima coast, to the chilling Kamui, every area in this game brought something special. Aside from that, I was also amazed by the story. Traveling around Nippon, saving people from horrible plagues and monsters while at the same time absorbing in all the beauty and charm just feels amazing. And the characters are just the icing on the cake. We have Susanoo, who showed the world what a true hero would do, the mysterious wanderer Waka, Isun, who is easily one of my favorite companions ever in a video game, and so many miscellaneous characters that just liven up the world in so many ways. The combat felt really fluid and natural, and the brush techniques really felt like they put me into the game. From using simple power slashes to cut things or take care of enemies, to using elemental arts to save people and open new paths, it was a fantastic addition to the game. And let's not forget about the numerous references to Japanese myths and legends, as well as the many mythological creatures. Man, I just love it when video games do that. Seriously, this is a true classic. Anyone who's played it before can vouch for me on that. And if you haven't experienced it yet, I feel like that's something you should amend. Now I just need to do better at releasing those LP episodes. To me, indie games can easily be divided into two categories, those who try to be unique and creative, and those who harken back to the older days of gaming to give us a fresh experience. And number 10 on our list is an example of the latter, Freedom Planet. I had heard about this game quite a bit during late 2014 and a good chunk of 2015, so after a while, I decided to pick it up myself, and I'm so glad I did. Where Shovel Knight feels like a celebration of the NES, Freedom Planet feels like it celebrates the Genesis, with a hint of Mega Man X. Running fast through expertly crafted levels is such a thrill, and something I can do for hours, and it certainly helps that each character feels completely different. While I like being able to blitz through areas with a Dragon Boost and absolutely destroy enemies with her attacks, Carol being able to climb walls and ride a motorcycle that breaks so many rules of conventional logic, and Mila being able to float and having the best defensive game. Not to mention, the promise of new DLC characters just adds to the fun. And let me tell you, this game has made me crazy for speedrunning these levels, and I'm not usually one for speedrunning outside of Sonic games and Super Mario 3D World. Because the levels are so open and there's so many ways to get from point A to point B, not to mention taking each character's unique traits into account, makes trying to get the fastest time such a rush. Heck, some of my best records are in the top 100 for some of these stages. The story may not have been all that impressive, heck, I stopped caring about it after a while, but it makes up for it with a swell cast of characters and some truly fantastic writing and voice acting. This is easily one of the best indie games I've played. I'd even say it one-up Shovel Knight in areas. Yep, I went there. Come at me, bro. Thank you, Arc Systems, for giving me the chance to experience this. Let's face it, a lot of people who are fans of the Countdown community have at least heard of Arcana Heart 3. Since I never owned a PS3 myself and never had the drive or funds to get one, I never thought I'd get the chance to play this. But then it got Steam released, and I got literally the minute it hit the Steam store, and I haven't regretted it since. If we're talking unique fighters, this is easily the most unique I've ever played. The character roster is already great, with 23 characters each bringing something unique, but when you factor in the 23 different Arcanas, all with their own stats, abilities, and uses in battle, you have a fighter with practically endless possibilities. You can stick to a character's default Arcana, but where's the fun in that? The real fun is experimenting with different character and Arcana combinations to really find out what works for you. And let me tell you, I love experimenting with the different Arcanas. Aside from that, the fighting itself is some of the most fun I've ever had with the genre. Every fight is fast-paced, and the inclusion of the homing dash makes it so there are so many unique strategies to try out, and those critical hearts are pure eye candy and something I always look forward to pulling off. The different modes all bring something new to enjoy. You got your standard story, time attack versus mode, and training, but you also got survival score attack, where you fight literally the entire roster, trial mode, which really puts your skills to the test, and online mode that works great. Seriously, if you can get a close friend that knows what they're doing, you'll have hours of fun pummeling each other. This game is truly special, and I really wish I could rank it higher, but pretty much every attempt at a boss in this game went horrible. Charloc's a cheater, Fiona paired with Mildred is a nuisance, Kamui was buffed way too much, and do I even need to bring up Paris? Regardless, terrible bosses aside, pick this game up if you can. I'll meet you on the battlefield. Mega Man's been in a bit of a rut lately. I mean, from Capcom canceling games in the series to pretty much forgetting he existed in the first place, it seemed like Nintendo and the fans cared more about the Blue Bomber than Capcom could ever hope to. They even managed to screw up the X series with the release of Mega Man X7, but they managed to pull their act together and managed to pull off a miracle and give us Mega Man X8. X8 fixed virtually every problem X7 did wrong, and then some. Most importantly, they kept it 2D, like the series should be, and made sure everyone was useful. X is the same as he ever was, with its charged shots and chargeable weapons. Zero is the awesome sword-wielding robot we all know and love, and they even managed to make Axel feel unique with its awesome selection of guns. The Maverick lineup is seriously better than X7 could ever hope to be, and while it's something special, there are some real standouts in the roster. Don't worry, I'll talk about that when the time comes. A lot of the level designs were really interesting and innovative and had their own unique traits to help each level stand out from the rest. I'm also a really huge fan of the medal system that was introduced, as it gave incentive to explore the levels to their fullest with different characters, as well as using different weapons and new creative ways to get past obstacles. It really upsets me that not many Mega Man fans have played this. I find it one of the strongest games in the series. While the level design wasn't always spectacular, honestly felt broken in places, it's still a great game that just faded into obscurity. I know it won't be easy, but find a way to play this game. Now we just need a Mega Man X9 so I can finally get over that dang cliffhanger! Yeah, it's about that time. So yeah, Splatoon, what can I say? This was one of the most hyped games of 2015, and for good reason. Nintendo decided to make a bold move and bring a brand new IP that deviated from their typical Nintendo fare. Instead of being a platformer or some adventure game, we have a crazy fun and hectic shooter which is basically painful taken to the absolute extreme. Seriously, when this game hit, people couldn't stop playing it, and while that boom may have died down, it's still so much fun to play. It really helps that even after its release, Nintendo's been releasing new weapons, maps, and ranked game modes that constantly keep the experience fresh. And if you're tired from those hectic matches, you can always take a breather in the single-player mode, which I have to admit blew my expectations out of the water. The single-player mode could have easily been a throwaway, but the developers made it really fun and creative with interesting level designs and applications of your ink shots, and those boss fights are really fun. Adding colorful and eye-catching visuals, fantastic music, and unique game modes, you have one hearty game that I don't see declining in popularity anytime soon. So come on, show us how fresh you really are. If there's one indie game that's been talked about pretty much everywhere, it has to be Undertale. Seriously, this game pretty much came out of nowhere in September of 2015, and people started claiming it was one of the best RPGs of recent years. Naturally, I had to get it myself, and by that I mean my roommate had to gift it, to see if it really lived up to the hype. After playing through it myself, I can see why so many people hold this gem in such high regard. This is without a doubt one of the most unique games I have ever played. It takes the RPG formula that's been well established over the past 3 decades or so, and managed to make it completely fresh even after all this time. When it comes to dodging enemy attacks, you get put into little minigames that test how well you can dodge series of attacks. Think of it like Touhou, only nowhere near as brutal. Mostly. The story may seem simple at first glance, but it soon turns into a brilliantly made plot. Should you happen to care enough to read all the flavor text the game throws at you. I didn't. On top of that, this game has some of the greatest characters I have ever seen in the genre, ranging from heartwarming to crazy to goofy to wacky. There are so many great characters, I have a hard time deciding who is my favorite. But what really helps the game stand out is its morality system. You don't have to kill anything you come across. By performing specific actions, you can befriend them and choose to spare them instead. And don't think this puts you at a disadvantage. Because attacks never deal brutal amounts of damage and every attack can be feasibly dodged, a pure pacifist run never feels too taxing. Throwing spectacular and humor-filled writing, boss fights with their own unique gimmicks, and a soundtrack that manages to combine so many different styles and manage to be amazing at the same time, and you have a game that's very well earned its reputation. So if you haven't gotten this yet, what are you waiting for? Get underground and see what awaits you! If you remember last year's list, you'd know I absolutely love Xenoblade Chronicles, and you can't blame me. It's one of the best RPGs ever made, and it's still my favorite Wii game. So you can probably imagine how psyched I was for Xenoblade Chronicles X during 2015. Let me tell you, waiting for this game wasn't easy, and when I finally got it, I wasn't disappointed in the slightest. Xenoblade Chronicles X managed to amaze me in so many areas. The story started off very different from the original Xenoblade, but even still, there are great moments and some great characters to enjoy. The combat was tweaked a bit, and definitely for the better. You can now wield both close range and ranged weapons at the same time, and that opens up the possibilities for some fantastic combos. The game structure is very different from the original Xenoblade Chronicles, with a gigantic open world similar to an MMORPG. But you know, I feel it works to its advantage because you have so much freedom in what you can do. Do you want to advance the story? You can do that. Do you want to take some side quests? Go right ahead. Do you want to take a team of your choice or recruit people from around the world to go exploring? Nothing's stopping you. Do you want to take a mech suit and take on something 70 times your size? Knock yourself out! There's nothing stopping you from doing whatever you want, whenever you want. And this freedom extends to the combat as well. With the branching classes, you can make your avatar whatever the heck you want. You can stick to a class you like, or constantly change it up to suit your needs. It's all up to you. This is truly an amazing game, and I would have put it higher, but since it came out so late in the year and I had to wait even longer to get it, I didn't get to play it much before the year rolled around. Hey, I have to be fair here. The wait for the game was hard, but it paid off in the end. I can certainly X this one off my video game bucket list. Sometimes, second impressions can be just as valuable as first impressions. In early 2015, I tried out Final Fantasy VII on Steam, and for whatever reason, I couldn't get into it. I don't know if it had to do with having to use a keyboard to control, or how the random encounters often broke the pace of the game, but there was just something about it that deterred me. But later, when Magic Hunter 075 made its best and worst Final Fantasy bosses lists, I decided to go back and give it another shot. And given how it's this high, you can probably imagine how that went. I have no clue what deterred me the first time, but I got insanely into it on my second attempt. The only part of this game that isn't up to my standards of today are the overworld visuals. Let's face it, those blocky models look horrendous and the environments are often confusing as heck to navigate, but in regards to everything else, I've got so much good to say. There may have been a ton of random encounters, but that will only be a glaring issue if the combat was bad, and it's far from it. The seamless blend of real-time and turn-based combat makes fighting enemies and bosses so much fun. Not to mention the materia system makes it so you can make your party members however the heck you want. You have total freedom on what to give to who. And speaking of the party, I was really drawn in by the story and characters. I won't go too deep into the story, otherwise we'd be here for a while, but I love that aside from a few slow moments, it never feels like it's dragging. The characters certainly help. Cloud started off as a loner, but grew and developed into a great protagonist. Kinda reminds me of Luke from Tales of the Abyss in a way. And because each character gets their time in the spotlight and there's the perfect amount of exposition and backstory, I don't feel there's a major character that doesn't belong here. The game is far from perfect, and progression can be confusing at times to the point where I had to whip out a guide to know where I had to go next, but that shouldn't stop you from trying it out. It may have deterred me at first, but I'm glad I finished it, and I'm really looking forward to trying more games in this series. I can end this segment with a clever joke, but I just want to bring up that Cloud got announced for Smash the day after I finished the game for the first time. What are the odds of that actually happening? I may not have mentioned this, but I'm a big fan of the Kingdom Hearts series. I love the characters, the art style, but most of all, that Disney charm that you really can't ignore. And in 2015, I not only got to see where the series got started with Kingdom Hearts 1, but I also got to play quite possibly the best game in the series, Kingdom Hearts 2. Having jumped right into this game after Kingdom Hearts 1, I could definitely see all the improvements that were made and why it's held in such high regard. The combat was drastically improved and had so many more options to mess around with. From the altered magic spells to the awesome as heck drive forms, it really felt like the flashy combat the series is known for started here. I also really liked the variety of worlds and how they all felt different from one another. From the bazaars in the desert of Agrabah to the spookiness of Halloween Town. Not to say the first game didn't do that as well, it did, but I felt Kingdom Hearts 2 made it a bit more player-friendly. The worlds are a lot more linear and not as puzzle-heavy, but it works this to its advantage because it never feels like a drag exploring anymore, especially when my curiosity leads me to treasure. And didn't mention the characters of the game yet. Like I said, one reason I love this series is because of the characters. Sora has always been a fantastic protagonist, and because the bulk of the story is the search for his friends, it makes him seem like a real person that someone can easily connect with. Riku had some fantastic development because of the trials he put himself through, and it really made me appreciate him. And let's not forget those insanely memorable characters from the worlds themselves. I can definitely see why people find this the best game in the series. The combat is some of the best I've seen in the genre, especially during those insane boss fights. The charm the series is known for is absolutely everywhere, the worlds are fun to explore, and the characters are so lovable. Now I can only hope I get a chance to play Kingdom Hearts 3 to see if they can improve the formula even more. I've played my fair share of indie games, and all of them did their best to be unique and stand out, but none of them can come close to what I consider my favorite indie game, Dust and Elysian Tale. Seriously, this game is just something else entirely. There are very few games I can consider art, but this is one of them. The story may have been predictable, but I like how it deals with issues we actually deal with in our world, like racism and stereotyping. But when it lacks in a strong plot, it more than makes up for it with some truly amazing characters. They managed to make Dust have amnesia, but actually do it right. He's interesting from the get-go, and only gets more interesting as he learns about his place in the world and as he helps others. Fidget is absolutely adorable, hilarious, and all around a fantastic companion for your journey. And all the other characters you interact with over the course of your adventure just add to the atmosphere and charm this game gives off. But if that were it wouldn't make second place now, would it? When we're talking gameplay, this is the most fun I've ever had with an indie game. The combat is so fluid and natural, and there's so many different applications of your attacks when combined with Fidget's magic. And let me tell you, getting a high combo feels amazing. Go for that 1000 hit combo and tell me how you feel. Exploring areas is so much fun when you factor in all the upgrades Dust gets over the course of the adventure and the amazing soundtrack the game presents. And when I go off the beaten path to find some goodies, the feeling is absolutely glorious. The only real complaint I can level at Dust is that most of the boss fights in the game are lackluster and underwhelming. Other than that, I got nothing. This is a fantastic game that's just too charming and special not to love. However, there's one game in 2015 I enjoyed even more. One year ago, I made a promise. A promise that I'd play a certain game from a certain series. I knew that this year, I'd have to uphold that promise, and knowing that when I did, it would be one of the greatest experiences I'd ever have. And I hold no regrets, because Fire Emblem Awakening is one of the greatest games I have ever played. Seriously, Nintendo went all out to deliver a game that's insanely memorable, and they succeeded. The story started off a bit slow, but it eventually turned into a fantastic tale that I got so absorbed into. And if you haven't picked up on a pattern yet, part of that came from the characters. All the people you recruit for your army have their own unique personality that really makes it easy to remember who's who. You have the heroic Crumb, the adorable sister Lissa, the steadfast knight Frederick, and even your avatar has an interesting personality. And that's not even taking into account the antagonists for this game that all stand out in their own way. But how's the gameplay hold up? Fantastic. I have never been so drawn into a game like I have with this. The real-time strategy action I knew from Fire Emblem 7 was amped up greatly. There's such a great variety of weapons and classes that there's always a unit of choice for any situation. And this game gave us something any fan of the series can appreciate, the introduction of casual mode. Previously, the permadeath system was a turnoff for some people, but now you don't have to worry about it if you so choose. It really relieves a lot of the pressure and makes that seemingly luck-based failure a little less annoying. And I haven't brought up the support conversations yet. You can pair units up and watch their relationships improve with oftentimes hilarious results. And what's more, when units get really close, they can get married and have children. And you can recruit them for your army and pair them up too. Seriously, when I finished my first playthrough of this game, I immediately started thinking of how I can handle my second playthrough. I don't think I need to say any more. This game has it all. A fantastic story, terrific characters, gameplay changes that anyone can appreciate, and something for everyone to love. That makes Fire Emblem Awakening not only my favorite game I played in 2015, but also my new favorite 3DS game. I'm Arrow Dragon, and I'm seriously looking forward to the next Fire Emblem game. As tough as this list was to order, it was so much fun to edit. Seriously, I tried out new things, and I really think it worked out. Well, this is my last list before I have to go back to school, so don't expect anything from me for a while, in terms of countdowns anyway. I'll try and update the channel whenever I can, but updates are going to be slow from here on out. So until next time, this is Arrow Dragon, signing out.